I've got a couple of little things, exercises that you can take away. So I'll just change screens over here and I'll just share my screen again so that you can all see. So affirmation, if you would like to do this one, and I'll put these in the chat. I stand in my power of truth and divine strength. I trust my inner wisdom and release all fear of control. I create my reality with confidence, clarity, and purpose. My voice matters. My presence is strong. My energy is limitless. I walk forward with courage, knowing I am divinely supported. I am free. I am powerful. I am that I am. So that's the affirmation if you want to take that away. We've next got a relaxation meditation. Relaxation meditation, which is aligning the body, the emotions, and the mind. Or this is just something that you can go through. So this is really about just relaxing your body, having a look at your mind, getting that right, and having a look at that emotion. So you go through this, putting your fingertips into each part of your body as the relaxation part of it. I'm not read it out in its entirety. It will be in the chat. Pick it up, have a look at it. If you want to take it home with you, save it to your computer, download it, print it, do whatever you like. Otherwise, it will be in the Telegram channel as well, so you can pick it up from there. So moving through every part of your body, creating a state of relaxation by being consciously aware of every part of your body, allowing the tension to leave and be released. Become then aware of your emotions and your feelings and how they are right now. Once you're aware of that, bring in the feelings of peace and joy and serenity and releasing all negative emotions that you might be feeling. And there's the process for that there. Then moving into the state of the mind for the next few moments, observing your thoughts, whatever they might be, and releasing them, expanding your mind right through the planet and out into the universe, taking time to sit in each of these spaces. So that's just a relaxation meditation that you can all take home should you wish. You can do that as a standalone, or you can do that as a prelude if you're going into a different meditation there. And this is your sacred space meditation. So this one here is getting comfortable, taking some deep breaths. You create a space that is yours and yours alone. You make it whatever you want. For example, I'll give you a couple. You may have something which is in a forest. It's a tree house in a forest. It's a room. It's whatever it is. It looks however it is. You may want a crystalline structure which is on the beach. You may just want to be on the beach. Whatever you like, it is your space. You make it your own. Once you have created that, bring the person into your space, always remembering that it is yours. You control the situation. So if you have a volatile person that you want to bring in, know that you can choose to have a conversation with them, or you can choose just to let them know how you're feeling. Always in love, always from a higher level of awareness, never from a negative perspective. Have those conversations with the people in your life before you go down the path of actually doing this in the physical. It means that you've done it already on a subconscious level. They are aware of what you are doing. They may not remember it. Most often they won't. But it means that their subconscious, their inner child is already prepared. It knows that this is going to happen. And quite often the responses that you get from that person are going to be much, much less than they would have been otherwise. Now, if you are you can do this for somebody who has passed on also. So know that it can be for someone here, someone not there, job, whatever situation it is. It's a very, very, very powerful tool. Now, a second part of this meditation is that if you are wanting to disconnect from someone, or if you've got situations or things aren't quite right, there, as I said, those etheric cords that you have, you can go through the process of unhooking them from you. Never cut them. Never cut etheric cords, because it still sits here and it still has the opportunity to grow back. So if you are disconnecting from someone or a situation, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, see those cords running between you and the person, or you and the situation, and unhook them from you so that you're releasing them. Now, this particular exercise You may find that you might need to do this several times over. I'll give you an example. I had a relationship in the late 90s with a misogynistic, with a man who was a misogynist. It wasn't until many, many, many years down the track I did this exercise, both parts of it, many, many times. And I think it was about 15 years later that I knew, due to something that had happened within me, that connection was then totally broken. So things are embedded with us subconsciously that come up at different times. Eventually, it will come to the point where it no longer has any effect on you. So you can utilize both parts of those tools. So they're the three things that I have for you. I've also got something else which is called the law of, I've just called it the law of proven action. So I'm going to bring this up again. This encapsulates what we've been talking about today. And it also leads into our next session of, which is going to be on thoughts, the power of thought, what thoughts look like, how that affects us, what a thought form is, what does a thought form look like, all of that kind of thing. So I don't know who wrote this, but we're going to go through it. Standing before me on the sign of infinity, all you who are clear, with the granting of the law of proven action comes the application of change. I will give you the key. And with this knowledge, please realize comes the responsibility of sharing it. I will show you the way. It is very simple. Throughout the universe, there is order in the movement of the planets, in nature, and in the function of the human mind. A mind that in its natural state of order is in harmony with the universe, and such a mind is timeless. Your life is an expression of your mind. You are a creator of your own universe. For as a human being, you are free to will whatever state of being you desire through the use of your thoughts and words. There is great power there. It can be a blessing or a curse. It is entirely up to you. So, the quality of your life is brought about by the quality of your thinking. Think about that. Thoughts produce actions. Think about what you are thinking. See the pettiness and the envy and the greed and the fear and all the other attitudes that cause you pain and discomfort. Realize that the one thing you have absolute control over is your attitude. See the effect that it has on those around you. For each life is linked to all life, and your words carry with them chain reactions, like a stone that is thrown into a pond. If your thinking is in order, your words will flow directly from the heart, creating ripples of love. If you truly want to change your world, my friend, you must change your thinking. Reason is your greatest tool. It creates an atmosphere of understanding, which leads to caring, which is love. Choose your words with care and your thoughts with love. Thank you. That sums us up for tonight.
Okay, so we'll start with anyone that has any questions.
That was amazing. I'm in tears. I just want to thank you so much. Do you do private consultations?
I surely can. Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, I just been through a lot of trauma, and I need to find a way to let it go.
That's no problems at all. I'll PM you my number. You're welcome. And thank you. Thank you for the feedback too, Donna. Also, feel free to share any of your thoughts or whatever if you want to. There doesn't have to be a question. Obviously, I'm more than happy to take any questions and talk about any of this. But if you have thoughts and things, we all share by learning from it, or we all learn by sharing with each other or from each other.
Amen. Amen.
So I don't know how to put the hand up. Can I just say?
Oh, there you go. Darling, you can talk. Go on.
Sorry. I think that was absolutely amazing, very powerful, very emotional. I'm just going to take it on and yeah, I'm just going to do as best as I can. But I think that was very powerful. And a lot of things for me was just wake up calls, really. And yeah, very powerful. Thank you so much for sharing and for sharing. Thank you.
Shaman, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah.
I gave my heart to Jesus when I was 30 years old. Now, my reason for doing that is I wanted to get married, and I had so many boyfriends and nothing ever worked out. But I saw one of my friends, she got married soon after she gave her heart to Jesus. And she got, so I thought, okay, this thing works. I'm going to get saved too. But little did I know it would take me 12 years before I would meet my husband. But I was literally on a honeymoon with the Lord for 7 years before he blessed me with my first husband. And I got my heart broken so many times when I was young, but every time I got my heart broken, I would take my time and heal, and then I'll fall in love again, and I'll get it broken again, and then I'll fall in love again. But I would always wait until I was healed and whole before falling in love again. So I did it in a long way. I think this is why I got married so late in life. I was 42 when I got married. But I had nothing but absolute bliss. And then after 7 years, I would get a knock on my door with a police officer showing me my husband's driver's license. My husband was taken tragically in an accident. And that was the end of my world. But after he died, I went back to Canada. I gave everything I owned materially and went back to Canada to die because I have family there and they will bury me when I die. But I spent a whole year and I didn't die. And I went back to California and I spent a whole year again. And again, I didn't die. And then some of our friends who had heard that my husband was killed in an accident, they were living in Arizona, and they called and asked if I'd like to come spend some time with them here in Arizona. And no sooner after arriving in Arizona, I would go to church one Wednesday evening, and I saw this tall, gorgeous hunk of masculinity walking into the church. But he came and he sat next to another woman. And I thought, oh my God, I'm looking at a married man. What's wrong with me? So I took my mind off of that completely. The following Sunday was Easter Sunday. And he came and introduced himself to me. We started talking and we never stopped talking after that. Now, this talking went on for 2 months without even exchanging phone numbers. And then it was Memorial Day weekend. We were both invited to the same party, and it was there we exchanged phone numbers. I think I'm being boring, aren't I?
No, I'm fascinated. Go ahead.
I know, keep going. Yes,
what
keep going.
what a great story. Keep going.
All right. So on Memorial Day weekend now, we were both invited to the same pool party. No, he didn't see me in a bikini or anything. We exchanged phone numbers, and then while we were talking, his little boy, who was like about 6 years old, I asked him if he wanted ice cream, and he said yes. I said, well, we'll go to church this evening. I go to an evening service, and after church, we'll go get ice cream. So, but after church now, I'm ready to go home. He said, I thought you said we were going for ice cream. I said, oh, okay, sure. So we went for ice cream. No ice cream places were even open. We went to a Sonic. Anyway, so now it's time for me to go home. And he said, Shamim, do you want to come and see my Jeep my dad bought for me? I said, Austin, we'll do that another time. But thanks for, wanting to show me your Jeep. So after Memorial, now he has my number. He called and invited me out to dinner. That week, we were the first to get to the restaurant and the last to leave. So many times we made attempts to say goodbye. We would hug and kiss and say goodbye, and we'll continue talking. We'll hug and kiss and say goodbye, and we'll continue talking. Oh, no, we never kiss. What am I saying? We'll hug and say goodbye, and we'll continue talking.
The kissing came later.
No, yeah. So the following week, I went back to California. I was supposed to be gone a month. I came back after 2 weeks, and he asked me to marry him. I missed out no, serious. I need to tell you.
Had you kissed by then?
Yes, we did.
Oh, thank God for that.
But listen, my first husband, I went to this conference in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I saw the exact image of what I had prayed for walking up to me, telling me he wants to talk to me, not knowing he had seen me in a vision of who he was going to marry. 3 times he came up to me telling me he has to talk to me, and he doesn't know what to say. I said, you know what? I think you need deliverance. So we just had enough time to exchange phone numbers. I went back to Canada. He went back to California. The second time we spoke on the phone, he asked me to marry him. Just like that. Both my husbands knew right away they wanted to marry me, and they were not taking no for an answer. So I said, I want to have a normal courtship. He said, honey, I'll be courting you for the rest of my life. And then he wrote me this poem. So precious is tomorrow when love is here today. A mating of two hearts in beat, no need for words to say. So rendered weak a heart was all that it would take, when in her eyes I knew I found a love I could not fake. They say God so loved the world, he gave his only son. One miracle I praise if you and I became one. 5 months later, we went back to where we met and we got married without even going on a date. Both my husbands, my first husband, we had one date. My first husband, we didn't have any date. We just got married. And my second husband, we had one date and we got married. My first husband, we got married within 5 months of meeting each other. That's because we went to different countries. And Dale and I, we got married within 3 months of meeting each other. And I've had absolutely nothing but bliss. I didn't have it once, I got it twice. And I said, Lord, who am I that you would bless me like this? But I knew all my life, I knew I wasn't going to settle for anything less than God's absolute best. I remember going to my pastor one time and I said, I don't understand. I get all these boyfriends and nothing ever materialized into getting married. And he said, Shameen, you're a very unique young lady and God has somebody very unique for you. Well, who told him to tell me that? That went straight to my head. I said, I'm not going to settle for any old Tom, Dick, or Harry. It will have to be somebody very special. And the thing is, every time I would break up with a boyfriend, I always get somebody better than the last one. And that's how I always consoled myself. God has somebody better than that for me. He wasn't
That's
worth
lovely.
my time. Anyways,
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Well done.
okay.
Fascinating story, I've got to say. Well,
Yeah, that's
well
beautiful.
done.
Yeah.
Well done.
So I call myself the love magnet. But now with the revaluation, I'm the love and money magnet.
I love that. I love that. Looking forward to seeing some big projects from you, darling. You got
Absolutely.
you got a you got a voice and a personality that is just shining. So I'm looking
Thank
forward to
you.
great things for you. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Christiane Dolph, I see you there, the hand up, very patient.
Hey, yeah. Hi.
Hey, darling.
Hi.
Hi, Brownie. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Christiane.
Hi. So, with this session today, beautiful as usual. And I think this one was more educational. And it was a bit deep because it really had everybody to check in, within themselves. And I know Donna came up and I could feel she was dealing with stuff. So that was really something that it actually reached someone very seriously. And it's good when people reach out and ask for help, because that's what we're supposed to do when things go wrong. One thing I want to bring up is you talk about the inner child, and I could never understand what that meant, the inner child. Then last time when you gave us the session and you mentioned it was to do with our ego. So this is really, and when people talk about the ego, and I thought, what's that, And then now I'm starting to understand really the two personalities we got to deal with is somebody we're trying to become and be, and then the ego is constantly reminding us who we really are. Is this correct?
It's a little bit different to that. So
Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yes, absolutely. So your inner child, so that's the part of you that's the energetic part of you that keeps all of your body functioning, that controls your emotions, your physical, stores all of your memories, gives you access to all of your memories, all of that. That's what the subconscious does. The ego is actually a separate entity. Now, if you look at a number of different teachings, the ego is actually a thought form, which is also a part of you, but it's quite a little bit different to what the subconscious is. So the subconscious grows as you grow spiritually. each part of you grows spiritually as well. So the integration and the working with all the different bodies that you have on that spiritual level grows simultaneously. But your subconscious is quite is separate to the ego in and of itself. Does
So
that make
I'm still not clear on, because I understood that the ego, is mostly it's the inner child that's trying to it's linked with the inner child somehow. That's
Yes.
what I got.
It is. It's also almost at a different, you can almost think of the ego side of you at the age level of a teenager. Hence the
It
reason
wants
that
attention all the time
wants attention all the time. It becomes
and
big.
is left brain. It's all logical. Whereas we
And
want to spend more time in our creative side, like the right side.
the conscious side of us, but working with all of these different sides. Like, when you're a teenager and you think you know everything, and what would your parents know, for example, because you've learnt it all. You know everything about the world according to you, rather than that's a fairly typical teenage mentality. You've come out of that childhood and all of a sudden you've got that power, so your ego starts to grow, and this. Or when you're in a position of power, then this is your ego actually building up, and you start to use that power, maybe not necessarily for the best of intentions, then your ego grows out. So I'm better than you, I want to do this or whatever. But in fact, the ego side of you is a very, very important part of you if you know how to use it. The ego is the one that actually grew to the extent which played a big role in severing that connection from source, because it got to the point where it thought, well, I know all of this now, so what do I need source for? I can do all this myself. So, let's just carry on our merry way and I'll look after us, as in I'll look after me. Whereas in the beginning, all of those bodies were actually working together simultaneously, so that you had a very close relationship of development between the part that looks after the physical side of you, the part that is your conscious being, the part of you that makes decisions, the ego, and also that higher self, which is that connection to source. So they were all working one-on-one, each having different roles but interjoined, and having that interplay, working from a level of awareness that meant that our connection with source was a continuous flow. Our actions were from that higher level of awareness until we, with external factors and of our own doing, thought that we were okay to do this ourselves. From there, that programming started to come in now, because we got too big for our boots of ourselves, basically. So that's when you can start to actually manipulate and program. And when you manipulate and program, you're manipulating and programming the inner child, because it has all of those memories. But you also manipulate and program the ego. We haven't done a session on the ego as yet. It will be another session that we have a look at. So you'll be really able to see what the difference is, what that looks after, what it means, and how that interacts with you, how we can get back to using all of these different levels within us to work in a symbiotic relationship rather than a separate relationship.
So it's very complex. I'm glad you're doing a session on it, because so from what you presented last time, I thought all the ego is connected with the inner child. But would you say that the ego has to do with the persona? You know how we, as a result of experiences we have as a child, and then it forms us to be that persona, and that pops up whenever we have a reaction against what somebody says or does to us. It brings that up, that memory. Would you say that?
It all
That makes
works. It does make sense. So
Yes.
all of these different aspects of it, of us, work in conjunction with each other. If you have an immediate reaction to something, so if somebody says something to you and you react in anger or you react in fear, that's your inner child. That's your subconscious programming. That's the programming that which has been embedded into you for most of your lifetimes, even not just this life. So the reaction that comes because we're not consciously thinking about what's being said, because we're not consciously coming from that place of love, then yes, there's a couple of things that happen. It's the subconscious or the inner child that reacts from the emotional perspective, but it is also the ego that might get bruised because that person doesn't agree with us. So you see the relationship between every aspect is very interwoven. This is the easiest way that I've found in most teachings actually to be able to explain the differences of the bodies that the levels that we embody within us, so that you can actually start to understand what that looks like and work with each aspect. But really, when you're working with each aspect, you're working with all aspects simultaneously. It has to be that way because it's all
So
part of you.
with the ego, we have like, it's just like the yin and yang. There's both of us in us. Is that what you were referring to? And that's why it's part of the whole makeup of who we are, and it's actually aligned with your I am presence, or your how did your higher self.
Myself, yeah. Yeah.
So
So
yeah. So because it's makes you think a little bit, to really your mind to be wrapped around, because sometimes our dark side can be used in a positive way instead of
absolutely.
really. That's what you're referring to. And then the side of your virtues is you use them at different time to navigate through life, to be able to function in the 3D world. You use both of them, and you can use them positively, both aspect of it. Is that right?
Absolutely, you can use positively. Like it, think of it like you gave the example of the yin and yang, the masculine, the feminine, the positive, the negative, all of those sort of things. They're two different aspects which are combined within us. So two different sides of the coin, but still embodied wholly by us in our present form. It is the same with your inner child, your ego, your conscious mind, or your conscious self, the part of you that is the free will, and your higher self. So all of those aspects of you are embodied within here, in this physical. It just they play different roles, but are all intertwined with each other. So when one aspect learns, the whole aspect learns. If one aspect goes dark, then you might get some resistance from yourself, which you most definitely will, because you know what you're doing is not right, for example. But they're all on a different level, but combined. So what you do affects everything within you.
So
Does
what
that make sense?
actually I came across at one point when I was really trying to understand all this, and somebody mentioned that if you look at a black and white photo, so without the dark, without the light and the darkness, you couldn't have a picture, right? So you need both of them to create the picture. Like you need the darkness to, to actually shape the face, for example.
Yes.
That's something that made me understand the both yin and yang together, because you need both sides to really create that dark picture, if you know what I mean. The darkness
Absolutely.
and the light.
And we embody all of it. We embody all of those aspects within us. Like if when you really start to think about the ins and outs of it, the nitty-gritty of it and all of that kind of stuff, it can become quite complex and quite confusing. And it is when you start to get into those deeper levels of, well, how does that actually work? What does that actually look like? Well, how does that interact? Well, why does that interact with that there? But it's knowing that you are a full being in a full state, but you have different aspects of you that looks after different parts of your current existence, all intertwined with each other. So each part affects all of the other part. When one part grows, all of you grows. When one part declines or goes backwards or lives in that state, for example, if you all of a sudden become an alcoholic, then all parts of you become affected, physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically. Same as when you start to move forward spiritually, every single aspect of you grows, not just the inner child, the ego, the conscious self, and or the conscious self, but also the yin and the yang, the masculine, feminine, the soul body, the mental body, the causal body. All aspects of your being grow with you. So while you can separate them out just for the explanation of the mind, so you can organize it in your mind in a way that you can understand it, they're all very, very, very much intertwined. They all coexist simultaneously right throughout your whole being. So when one's affected, the lot are affected.
Thank you so much for the explanation. And I'm looking forward to, this session on the ego to really try to have another aspect of it to, so it's probably a little bit clearer in my mind, maybe.
Yeah. And that will be probably I'm not sure, a couple of sessions down the track. Then because the one on thought will be the next one, and it's quite a comprehensive one. It will give you a much greater, will give everybody really a much greater understanding of what thoughts are, than the energetic imprint that happens when you have a thought, how to bring those thoughts into creation. It's very much a part of where we're all now, how to actually use your thoughts for creation, what thought forms look like, how thoughts affect you, how they affect other people, how they affect people globally and universally. So it kind of follows on from this one. So the ego will come in a couple of sessions down the track.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Okay, so that then leads to you talking about thoughts. We have a session on dreams. I'm a prolific dreamer. It'll be great to know a bit more about dreams and how they interact with the higher self.
Well, we could certainly have. I actually hadn't thought of doing one on dreams. But
yeah, I'd love that.
Okay, you're right. No problems.
Okay, we got a number of people that have been waiting for a while. One is Yavi.
Thank you, Brownie, and greetings, everyone.
Greetings. It's
Hi,
nice to
Yavi.
see. It's nice to see a man without a shirt on, like he's comfortable in his own skin.
Exactly.
Jim talked about our inner child spirit, and he showed us the way we were trapped by the 3D realities and how we can come out, the process to come out from all these things in order for us to create our reality. Now, I want to know if there is a difference between the inner child and the higher self, because up till now, I did not work on my inner child, but I start to deal with my higher self, which makes me to understand and to know some reality. So my question is there any difference between the inner child and the higher self? Thank you.
You're welcome. And yes, there is. While we are working with ourselves on any level, regardless of whether it's with your higher self or with your inner child, everything that you do affects simultaneously every other aspect of you. Your inner child is part of you that looks after the physical body, the emotions. It can only work from a place of memory of what it has learned, what it has seen, and what it knows throughout lifetime upon lifetimes, and however many lifetimes that you've had since the creation of you as a being. Your higher self is that connection to source. That is the gateway that allows you to access the creative energy of all that is. That creative energy of all that is everything. It makes up absolutely nothing can exist without that creative energy in some form or another. It doesn't matter. So your higher self, your connection to source so that makes you working from a higher vibration. It means that when you start doing that, source contains all knowledge. As you go on a journey, you can actually access knowledge of all that is. That's a very, very long process, mind you. We go at a rate of learning of what we are able to handle. Now, if you are working with that higher self, that is wonderful, Yavi. That's wonderful, because it means that you're already taking steps to work actively from that higher level of awareness, from a place of love. And love is everything. Unconditional love is everything. So if you bring that into every action, every reaction, every thought, everything that you do, say, think, feel, or be, then you are literally training every other aspect of you to work from that perspective as well. Most people are stuck in a loop of a chain reaction of reacting or working from an emotional state. And I'm talking about most people when I say, I'm talking globally here, even today, without understanding the basic makeup of who we are and how we operate, it becomes difficult to know even how to start to utilize that higher level of awareness and bring that into our everyday life. So yes, when you are looking at it from this perspective, your higher self is very, very different from your inner child, but each affects the other.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Nora.
Hi. Thank you, Anka. That was beautiful.
Thanks.
Yeah, I've had, everyone knows I've had a pretty traumatic past, but, everything that I did on my own, getting psychological help. And I even had people that were sent to me that were psychic mediums that were able to help me, a recent friend, a psychic medium, and got me to do the inner child lesson. So that was really traumatic, and it was, that was awesome. And it's really hard also to forgive all the people that have done harm to me. And of course, God sent me a lovely man that we've been together for like 35 years, and then losing him in 2020 was really hard. I actually did. I was fascinated with astro projection, and I was doing a course with Alabar Jones, and then all of a sudden he cancelled the appointment with my lessons without even giving me a reason. But I have a feeling that my intentions of doing the astral course was to try and connect with him. I keep asking God, can I just have 5 minutes with him? Just 5 minutes or even like a minute with him. So I'm finding now, I have his photo on my phone because he said he died 2020. I'm finding it because we always used to say, because he was my first true love, we always used to say, you are the love of my life. And I look at his picture and I'm finding it hard to say those words because it's, he's been gone for quite a while, and, maybe I'm on a different journey in the future, Yeah, I'm a pretty tough person, and, I find ways to get through. But that's, I realise now, I think that's why Alabar Jones cancelled the session, is it because I had the intentions of wanting to connect with him in the astral planes?
That's a whole different subject there, Nora, that connection in the astral planes and so forth. So, we will eventually get into those different levels and what that means and what that looks like, and that'll be incorporated into some of the sessions. So, it's a very difficult thing when you lose a loved one. It's a difficult process to go through, but remembering too that we are human and we are here for that human experience. It's always the loved ones that are left behind who feel that emotional pain. We ourselves may not have any fear of dying because we may know or understand where we go for that, but quite often it's those relationships and those ties that we leave behind that do the suffering for it. But yeah, there are many different planes that are out there on an energetic level, and we'll be having a look at those different planes throughout the journey of this series as well.
Yeah, it was quite funny because when I met him, he was 34 and I was 19, and I told him I was 21. And it's funny how God works, because he went to a pub called Waterloo in Wellington, and he didn't even know my dad, and he walked into a bar and he happened to come across my dad, and it's quite funny how he said, "Oh, I've met this beautiful Samoan girl, and she's 19. She said she's 21 and she's the oldest of 4 girls. And my dad said, yeah, her name is Nora, but she's 19. That's funny. And I was so worried that he was going to kick me out. And then when he came home and he said, I wouldn't have cared if you were 16. So yeah, so such a beautiful soul. And I'm so blessed that, that God sent me this man in my life to guide me to where I am. And then I feel that after I had done all the healing, and it was like God called him home early. It's funny because he worked as a mental health support worker, and I had a reading with a psychic medium, and she said in the afterlife, he holds the hands of children that are in between life and death. So yeah, so I feel totally blessed, but it's a lot of hard work to have to go through a lot of when you have a traumatic childhood, and you can either fight or flight, and yeah. So I just wanted to
Absolutely.
share that. But thank you.
Absolutely, Nora, and well done to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really lovely to
so
see.
I think right now is a great opportunity to thank all those who are listening to the recording for their time, and we'll end the recording here.
And I'll just, before you do, Brownie, I just wanted to say a big thank you to you again for hosting, and also to all of you for joining and also listening. So thank you very, very much. And I look forward to the next session.